I recommend that you gather together some dry materials. Perhaps that is charcoal, pencils, pens, crayons even, soft pastels, or oil pastels. And if you're not sure what those are and you have some time and you want to order those before you begin, you might consider and research and look. And maybe you gather some paint. For this particular experience, house paint or acrylic paint, brushes, chip brushes, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch that you get at the hardware store. Or maybe you have more expensive brushes that you have invested in. Go ahead and gather those. I use a printmaking paper, or you could get a Strathmore if you're wanting to invest some more money. And 150-pound or heavier, because it will take the paint and you can work for a while. And if you find a place in your studio and you can put this up with also a piece of raw canvas, or perhaps you have stretched canvas. I use the raw canvas in my workshop because a lot of people will roll it up and take it with them. And I also give it 2 to 3 inches to tape it off. So if you do stretch it later, you have those edges without getting into the painting itself. I am going to start with an idea generating, provoking, psyche, outward expression, get the juices flowing meditation. There isn't one right or wrong way to do this. And this is a way to enter into the painting process. If you're feeling safe, I invite you to gently close your eyes and take in a deep breath. We're going to do that 3 times. Inhaling potential and growth, and exhaling anything you don't need in this present moment. One more time. Inhaling, exhaling. And a third time. At the base of your spine, I want you to imagine a grounding cord of your own making. This grounding cord is going to move from the base of your spine to the chair or the surface you're sitting on, all the way to the core of Mother Earth. Grounding yourself. And as you breathe in, I want you to imagine yourself in a meadow of your own making. You're going to take in the colors that surround you in the peripheral. What is the vegetation around you like? Is it warm or cool? What time of day is it? Can you hear any sounds around you? And now, see yourself in the middle of this meadow. And I want you to bring yourself with all your senses, to bring your attention in front of you, where there emerges a box of your own making. What does it look like? Are you able to pick it up? And if you are, what does it feel like? Is it heavy or is it light? you were to open it, how does it open? And I want you to do that now. I invite you to open the box. And as you set the box down, in the box is a book. Imagine yourself picking this book up out of the box. What is the book made out of? Can you feel the edges and the binding? On the sides, there are pages. Maybe you feel them first, taking in all the tactile responses. And now, being completely present, I want you to open the book. And there, on a page, is a word or words, but the first word you see. Take in that word. Stay with that one word, allowing it to just be what it is. You will now gently close the book, putting it back into the box. Placing the box in front of you in this supportive meadow, protected and surrounded by a circle, the peripheral circle. Take in where north is, south, east, and west. As you sit in the middle, where are you gravitated towards most? The east is often beginnings and illumination. The south moves us towards midday growth. The west, the setting sun. Our dreams, our hopes are all revisited here. And the north, great wisdom. And as you sit in the middle of this circle, taking in your sense of space and time and place, thanking your book, your word, your box, I want you to gently come aware of your body. Perhaps you might wiggle your toes or your fingers to bring us back into the place you're sitting in, thanking the meadow. And when you open your eyes, take in 3 things in the room around you to ground you into present time again.
My job is to really cultivate what the individual is moving towards. Anything Goes is mixed media, and how I came about making mixed media, it sort of found me more so than I found it. When I was in graduate school over 20 years ago, I had an instructor who said, really know your limitations, because your limitations, in many ways, if you're wanting to be an artist, can become your greatest strengths. And so my attention to just doing one thing at a time is not my strength. My strength is really taking in a lot of information at once and being able to utilize it. So if I'm just painting, I tend to overwork a painting. But if I have a piece of paper that then becomes collage, or I have pastel, which is going to be a different medium, or this is an oil pastel stick that's sitting now on top of very light paint, then it becomes different mediums that respond to each other, and it holds my interest. So over 20 years, all these mixed media techniques really were developed because of my attention span. So I work with these inexpensive chip brushes because we work so quickly and with so many materials, and sometimes when we get paint going, we might have 3 or 4 brushes in our hand, and also they're disposable. I've kind of adapted ways of doing blending techniques. You can look around the room and see some of the paintings that I have, which will get put away for this workshop. But I've been using these brushes for years now. When I get expensive brushes, what happens to me is I always seem to forget to put them away. They get dry, they get dried out, and then I've wasted a whole bunch of money. Vine charcoal. Vine charcoal is basically the ends of wood after it's burned down. So it is, this vine charcoal is more looser than when we do a compressed charcoal. A compressed charcoal really works as a pastel, and the difference being and the vine charcoal is going to be lighter. I mean, you can get in there and do that, but it's just got a different feel. And the other thing about the vine charcoal is I find that if you're not really liking what you're doing, you can kind of come in and erase, where this is going to be. There's so much you can communicate with just black and white. So that's why I was like, let's see how far we can go with just our mark making and creating a ground. And what I mean by a ground is anything that is in the background. We call it figure ground in painting. This is our ground, and then I might start doing a main event. We don't have to really worry about it at first, but as you're working, you might find, I don't like what I'm doing at all. Water fixates charcoal and pastel. And because we're in the Southwest, things dry really quickly here. So if I was to move things around, or even I can paint with the charcoal. So I don't have water right here, but I'll cheat. Moving it around. What I will introduce once you guys get started is I'm going to put a blob of white paint on your table. So you can work with acrylic white paint and these dry mediums for as long as possible. And so something that can happen when we do that is, let's say you're not liking anything that you're doing, you can just make it go away. I'm a big fan of the Huggies. Everyone notices they have Huggies on their table. And I'm also a fan of reductive as much as additive. So we can work like this for a while. I also have scrapers, And one of my favorite ones, this is my new favorite one, it's silicone, is it does these little silicone things. And so all the materials that we're beginning are beginning, see these diagonals, that's got the most movement. Horizontals are like looking at a landscape. It's calming. Verticals are like standing at attention. So just with that in mind, whatever it is you're trying to portray emotionally, you know you can set it up. And we can also start turning the paper, and then I push pin them in. So we're mucking about till something maybe starts to develop. And then I might say, okay, it's time to introduce some color. And what I'm going to do today is have you do a little bit of writing from what on the other piece of paper. You can do it big, you could do it small. And I'm going to give you a word. We played this game before, some of you. And you're going to write the first word that comes to mind. So let's say I say out loud water. And in my head, I think flow. So I'm going to put flow. You can put it anywhere on your paper. And you're going to do it on the other sheet of paper that I had you get. And so we're going to kind of go settle back down in our seats. And my job is to confuse and confound you. Do you want to know why? My job is to confuse and confound you, to get you out of your left brain and to get you into your right brain, where you're nonsensical, non-thinking, and just letting go. And then my job is to come back and bring some order. So just bring you back to order, into the chaos. I'm bringing you into the chaos, and then we come into the order. So you don't have to think. It's almost like going to the movies. Just experience it. You're welcome. Okay. If you could, I'm going to ask you to feel your feet on the ground. To just sit down and feel your feet on the ground. To bring yourself wherever it was earlier this morning, to let all that go. And to bring yourself into the room. And as you feel your feet on the ground, imagine at the base of your spine a grounding cord of your own making. Grounding cord, like a chain or something that's going to ground you to the center of the earth. Imagine a grounding cord just moving from the base of your spine through the chair, through the floor, all the way to the core of the earth. And now as you settle in, you might notice the sounds in the room. The sounds outside of the room, beyond the studio. And just be aware of them. How do we bring that sound in and let it work with us? And just feel yourself settle in. For the next few hours, all you need to do is experiment and play while I come and help guide you. Feel your breath coming in as if it's warm liquid light, coming in on, moving to the top of your head and your shoulders. And this warm light is just removing any tension that you might have down over your heart and your back, into your shoulders, your belly and your hips. And just feeling it moving all the way to your toes, and then moving out through your grounding cord, and just let everything go. And now think of a color that represents creativity for you. And as you bring that color in, some people don't see things, some people feel them, so there's no wrong or right way to do this. Just a color that represents creativity, and imagine it moving in and around you on either side, above, below. And then when you're ready, you're slowly going to wiggle your toes and your fingers and open your eyes. And when you do open your eyes, find 5 things in the room to ground yourself back in. And now I'm going to give you a series of words, and you're going to write down the first word that comes to mind. So we're going to move kind of quickly. You're not going to think about this too hard. You ready? Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay. Passive. Jump.
That word was jump.
Jump. Jump, like jump. Push. Edge. Quietude. To be quiet. Focus. Open. Leadership. Trance. Metal. Horizontal. Caring.
What was that word?
Caring, to care. Water. Depth. Unleashing.
Unreaching?
Unleashing, to unleash.
Okay.
And burn.
What?
Burn. Okay. Burn. So now you can just put your pencils down, and now what I want you to do is stand up and in front of your paper with just these words, we'll get back to them. We just kind of have them there, and just start making marks. We're going to begin. Oh, you do. Whatever we're working on or going through in our lives will show up right there on the paper or the canvas. And it gives us the opportunity to just witness that. I'm also going to give everyone a palette knife. They could choose to use it or not use it with their white paints. And then just raise your hand if you want me to come around and move the paper and turn it with some push pins to get a different perspective. Middle of the table if you want to use a spray bottle. Is showing up that you don't usually do? Or are you just going to your default of shapes that you always do? And how can we bring the two together in a cohesive manner? How do we stay with an edginess? The spray bottle is a lot of fun. Like I said, it fixates the charcoal. And let's say you're not liking anything that you've done. Well, but the thing is I don't want you to ever cover everything all up, because if you come in and just start adding, or if you tape off, right? So taping off is a really wonderful thing to do, because one, you get structure. It's a way to create, yeah. And then let's say you want to blend. Here's a blending technique. I'm going to add some purple. I'm going to come in with some purple in this. And then I usually have 2 or 3 brushes at once, so I can, but it's got to be a dry brush. It really does. See? Because sometimes you're like, my paint is way too wet. You can move that paint around. And then remember the spray bottle that we did today? Then I could come back with that, you know, very wet, and the drip. I'm a big fan of the drip. There's some collage in here. So the thinner the paper, you almost only need water. So I might glue down, put my paper down. It's what, and why was I saying I do this? I do mixed media because my short attention span. Yeah, so if I have 2 or 3 or 4 things to work at once, I'm not overdoing it with just paint or just collage or just. So I don't know if I introduced the oil sticks. So something. Now what's going to happen if I take water to that? Because it's an oil stick, it's going to resist somewhat. Check it out. It didn't, but it is. It's starting to. So we have the one big canvas. We've got a couple of pieces of large paper. Everyone's going to get a wood panel. Oh, and then the palette knife. It's a great way to get texture. I know this piece isn't doing much, but it's going to. I really trust it is. But what I would like to get, is there anybody that wants to share what happened in their process today? Like how it went, the word that you got. Anyone want to share the word that they got?
Well, so the word I saw, which was odd to me, was pace.
P-A-C-E?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because at first I was feeling, when I got here, I was feeling edgy, wanted to kind of slow my nervous system down, and pace kind of made sense with that, because it's like pace myself, and what pace am I going at? So I cut huge, P, there's my E, my C, and then I put, and I really enjoyed that. I've never painted, this is the biggest I've painted so far, I think. And the other thing I really enjoyed doing today is I let myself do whatever I wanted. So I really enjoy painting with one color at a time. I've had lots of teachers tell me, get lots of colors on your palette, and but I really enjoy one color or 2 colors at a time, and I let myself do that.
Well, one of the reasons that as we said at the beginning with Diane, why we went black and white is to see contrast, and then with the minimal amount of contrast, how can we get an expression with just one color and see what it is, what shape, what form we're really trying to explore and what we're trying to say within that. And everyone I see in here today, I can see how that original kind of shape that you've started with is starting to take dimension, or I can also see how the paper pieces are talking to the canvas.